My name is Chris Jones, and I'm not here to talk about the timing or extent of a moratorium. That is for you to debate and discuss. Instead, I'm here to describe the profound impact my brother's death while working on a rig engaged in deepwater drilling has had on our family. My brother is Gordon Jones. He is my only brother. He was tragically killed aboard the Deepwater Horizon while earning his living as a mud engineer for M.I. SWACO, a contractor for BP. Gordon had nothing to do with this disaster. He was simply doing his job and making his way through his shift so he could get back home to his family. Instead, he never saw his family again. We can thank poor and likely grossly negligent decisions by many people and companies for that. Besides his extended family, Gordon is survived by a wife and 2 young sons. Stafford will turn 3 on Monday. Max will have his first birthday on May 14th. Gordon's wife, Michelle, was 8 months pregnant with Max when she learned she would never see her husband, the father of her 2 sons, and best friend again. This is a picture Gordon left behind. This photograph was taken in the hospital shortly after Max's birth. In the past year, Michelle has faced some extremely difficult occasions. Gordon and Michelle's anniversary, Max's birth, and Gordon's birthday, Thanksgiving and Christmas were all celebrated without Gordon. Truly, it does not feel like it's been a year. It feels more like 10 years. I promise you that spending one day in my shoes or in Michelle's shoes will give you an entirely different perspective on the topic of worker safety. Just the other day, as I was driving Stafford and one of my sons to my house, Stafford matter-of-factly told me that his daddy is in heaven. It broke my heart. No one denies that my brother's death and the death of the other 10 men could and should have been prevented. I understand that accidents happen, but companies engaged in oil exploration should do everything in their power to prevent accidents that have such horrible consequences. In the case of the Deepwater Horizon, they did not. I'm here today because I committed to Michelle, Stafford, and Max, and to my family that I would do anything and everything to support them and try and make sure no one would have to endure this pain again. No one should have to needlessly risk their lives to earn a living. No one should be allowed to risk the lives of hardworking men and women under their supervision and care in hopes of doing the job faster or cheaper. Gordon and the other workers killed that day took safety very seriously and trusted their co-workers. Had every company engaged in the operation of that rig taken safety as seriously as they did, there would have been no blowout. I find it interesting how hard the oil industry is working to get back into the Gulf. BP and others want to put this disaster behind them. Meanwhile, no one with BP has bothered to place a single phone call to anyone in my family. Not once. I don't expect a profuse apology for widowing my brother's wife or killing the father of my nephews. I don't expect them to accept responsibility for Gordon's death because that would likely be asking too much. All we expected was for someone from BP to call and tell us they were sorry for our loss. Maybe they were too busy hiring public relations firms and producing commercials. Clearly, they were too busy moving forward, trying to continue drilling and making more money, while we were left to pick up the pieces. As many of you know, despite our best efforts, we have been unable to get Congress to pass a bill that would allow these families to recover damages against those at fault by changing laws passed almost 100 years ago. The House of Representatives commendably tried to do that when it passed the Spill Act last year. The Senate almost passed its own version. However, a single senator prevented its passage by unanimous consent. I would hope that BP was not responsible for convincing that senator to block that bill, but I don't know that. What I definitely know they were not doing over the past year was trying to comfort these families, including mine. At the very least, BP could join our efforts to change the law, a law that would allow this family to move on with their lives. At the very least, BP and others could work with Congress to improve worker safety so this never happens again. Now, I'm from Louisiana and have lived in Louisiana all my life. No one needs to tell me the importance of the oil industry to my state. While I have very little knowledge about the business, I know it supports the livelihoods of thousands of people in Louisiana and other Gulf states, and I understand the criticism of the moratorium. However, as Gordon's brother and uncle to 2 little boys who won't even remember their father, I plead with you to consider the repercussions of not ensuring the safety of these workers before allowing BP and others to keep doing business as usual. Please don't forget the men and women who work on these rigs and the family they leave behind. They need and deserve those jobs. They just shouldn't be forced to choose between providing for their families and working on a rig where safety, not speed, is what is most important. Please remember Gordon, Michelle, Stafford, and Max, and the families of the other victims. Hopefully that thought effectively challenges you to encourage and support worker safety reforms that are desperately needed and might have saved my brother's life.